When love dies, it's love we need the most. So we have to talk about it. And the best part about talking about it with God is you're talking about it with someone who understands. He does, because he grieves. And the reason we know this is because we literally read about Jesus grieving in Scripture on multiple occasions. In John chapter 11 in particular, Jesus, by the way, was referred to as the man of sorrows, acquainted with grief was a common title for him. In John 11, Mary and Martha had just found out that their brother Lazarus had died, and they come to Jesus. They're grieving, and they're asking some of the same questions that we ask. Here was theirs. Where were you? And I don't know their tone, but I knew mine when I said that. Where were you? And we have a full context to this moment. Here's what happens. Jesus gets word that his friend Lazarus is sick, not that his friend Lazarus dies. He just hears that he's sick, and he stays where he's at. And he says it's for the glory of God. And when he finally shows up, they go, where were you? And Jesus knew what was going to happen. And let me let you in on it. He's about to do a miracle. The biggest turning point miracle in the book of John. John chapter 11 is the transition moment in all of Jesus's I am statements. When he declares, I am the resurrection and the life, this is when everyone goes against him and he's now headed toward his death. This miracle is the turning point in the book of John. He's about to raise Lazarus from the dead. And they come to him here. Where were you? And Jesus knows what's going to happen. And he has the power to do it, both. And yet, we read in John chapter 11, verse 35, these two wildly profound words. I used to be just surprised by the words Jesus wept. Because why cry when you know what's going to happen? In preparing this message, I was surprised because in the timeline, not only did he have the power to raise Lazarus right here, he had the power to raise him here. But he modeled for us instead what to do when you face death. You grieve. And it makes a really easy memory verse for those who wanted to come to church and memorize something. I think it was the second verse I ever memorized. I was so proud of it. I'm like, Mom, I memorized a verse today. Jesus wept. The first one I memorized, my mom told me to memorize, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. It's my mom. She's over there. Jesus wept. Because there's nothing wrong with grief. Jesus was perfect, mature, full of faith and hope and love, and he grieves. We feel the need to fix it. The goal of the sermon is not to fix you or rescue you from grieving. No, it's to actually invite you to walk through that door, the one that's been closed for a very long time. To open it wide. Because what you'll find is as you walk through it, God's on the other side of the door.